Welcome, Dr. Lee, and please, your time to share to us. We look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for having me here. I'm very happy to share the piece Miss, and this is actually one of the piece that I wrote last year, and I had a lot of fun to explore a lot of different tone colors for this particular piece, and it's actually quite interesting in the way that mist, the idea of a mist we're talking about, yeah, like it is something that it's the public strings, but the dream is the private matters, etc. But the mentoring title of this piece actually is called 古神花之天使之声, which just means like the sound of an angel. But the true meanings for this particular piece actually is related to like the ancient gods, like more negative sides of the gods. Yeah, so the when we're talking about angel actually not always being very positive terms, I guess. Yeah, I mean even in the Bible, angel has, the good angels and bad angels. So it's kind of the concept that, when I compose this piece, in fact, it's on more kind of um the dark sides of the gods, of the angels, etc. Yeah. And for this particular piece, I mean, it's not the long piece at all. It's actually pretty short. I think it's maybe about like 5 or 6 minutes max. And it's the concept of music actually is pretty straightforward in a way. It's not like how to say that? I mean, it's just very all the materials. In fact, it's really kind of straightforward to describe the scenery of the program notes that I try to share with people. And there are a couple more interest type of the techniques, I guess, that I use for this particular piece. Try to imitate the more spatial soundings, more like a darkness type of soundings. Um, some of those are like the like collegial, etc. But it's not quite just the traditional collegial type of techniques that I have used. I mean, of course, I also use some of the very traditional ways of the collegial, but they are like a collegial queenie brutal, which like using the collegials with the hairs together. So we will hear the hair sounds and also the wood sounds. And let me see if I can just do the really quick demos. But I mean, it's in a way, it's actually quite kind of like a pretty standard, I think. Yeah, in the contemporary music per se. And so this is one of the demo that I used for just to tell people exactly what type of sounding that I'm looking for.
Would be playing
Yeah.
both.
So
Creany dash lenio or lenio dash creany. Playing with half wood, half hair. And it sounds like this.
So in a way, it's not only just the collegial sounding that was the wood parts, but then we will also have the touch of the strings. So it's the soundings of a collegial become more prominent, yeah, in the piece that when I'm using these techniques. Yeah, and then of course, I mean some of like a collegial Getato, which is the type of technique I love it very much. It's like a ricochet collegial techniques. And so I use this quite a lot in this particular piece as well. And just doing the very quick demo so people can understand exactly the sounding that I'm looking.
Example, a quick throw onto the string. Sounds like this.
Yeah, so you can hear the ricochets of the nature sounding of the decades from the collegial getato. Yeah, and the other very fun techniques that I use for this piece, and this is actually not the first piece that I actually use for the chop techniques. I mean, this is some of you probably know about these techniques before, I hope. So this is like a very the bluegrass in U.S. And you know the fiddle prayer techniques that actually kind of being brought up in 1966. That actually people use the strings instruments, but they did a lot of really fun rhythmic aspect of the soundings. Yeah, so some of the the techniques it will sounds like let me see if I can find
Sophisticated
it.
physical movement.
Yeah. So it's like a chopping on the strings instruments, but it's become very rhythmic aspect that, you know, giving different type of soundings and aspects, yeah, from the piece. So those are kind of like semi-standard, I guess, yeah, type of techniques that I use for my piece. Now, there are a couple more techniques that I use a lot, and it's actually quite considered like the prominent type of techniques. One is called use a stick buzzing with the left hand pizzicato, and this type of a techniques it actually happens right at the beginning of my piece. So I'm just going to share the video, and then you can just focus on the cello. So hopefully you can hear the sounding of the stick buzz. Yeah, so were you? I hope you were able to hear the sounding of the buzzing sounding. Yeah, and of course, this type of techniques actually more prominent if actually happened on the larger instruments. So like you know, if people has a double bass, that actually pretty clearly that people can hear the sounding of the buzzing sound. So I'm just going to play very short excerpts of the techniques that are on the double bass, so people can hear more prominent sounding of the buzzing stick sounding.
Bass, and then maybe you need to you know to use the same elements differently.
I love this. So you're actually plucking the string with your left hand,
Yeah,
but then you're...
and you use this as a sort of, you know, it's a buzzing wooden element. It's not a bow.
Yeah, so I mean, with these techniques, actually give you know much more different color that you know people can come out you know with the string quartets, not just only for the lower instruments, but also on the higher instruments as well, like violins and violas, etc. Yeah, so I find it actually quite effective and fun techniques to use. And the other things, it would be like using the vibrato to that, you know, with really losing hands gesture. So, yeah, they will hear the sounds. Let me see one of the examples very quickly. Found my piece. Okay. Yeah, so the vibrato itself, because the left hand is so loose up, so the vibrato sounding is become very cool in a way. It's not just the regular vibrato that we will normally hear or like the tremolo kind of sounding, but it's become very losing up. So, you know, the friction is much bigger in a way. Yeah, so those are the kind of the techniques that I use for this particular piece. And yeah, one other techniques I found it also very fun for this particular piece is to use the left hand to actually press the strings below the bow when they are playing the techniques, and the harmonic sounding actually become very rich. Yeah, from the techniques. So let me show you that one of the I think let's see 7:55. Hold on just a second. Sorry. Okay, so this
So you're bowing behind the finger that's...
Yeah, you have
Wow.
your finger is right behind.
I've never seen that done before.
The bow, yeah, and then well, it's the sound that you can take an example is a clarinet ha.
Yeah, so it's actually giving, the different type of color tones that by doing this type of techniques, and then it's kind of for me it's kind of open up the different language that I can do, with the string instruments. So those are like the type of more significant type of techniques that you can see from my piece, from my scores. Yeah, and again, the piece itself actually is actually quite straightforward in the way of, in compositions. Yeah, so it still relied on a lot of really fundamental concept of using the motivic ideas with developments, etc., to composite the whole piece. But within it, there are a lot of different possibilities based on the techniques that are being explored, and to kind of link everything all together. Yeah, so that's kind of my piece. And I hope people will love it. And I did definitely have a lot of fun when I write this piece, as well as working with the string quartets from Taiwan. So yeah, that's kind of my sum up for my piece. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. We do actually got a question from the audience because they're fascinated by the string technique that you share. Is it okay to let them take the pictures of the name of the technique?
Oh yes, of course. Yeah,
Okay,
definitely. Yeah.
cool. So, Dr. Lee, you do mention you got some musicians to perform the work for you from Taiwan earlier. Can you share a little bit more about the experience that you collect with them?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. So this group is called the Moon Strings String Quartet, and in fact, I work with their youth string orchestra since 2019. Yeah, and we actually collaborate to create a whole series of string orchestra pieces for youth orchestra by demonstrate different type of contemporary techniques. Yeah, so far we actually have create several sets of the pieces that is, and each one of the music actually are tailored to emphasize either one or two or couple different contemporary techniques, but all kind of written for the youth groups, so they understand the concept and not to be too fear about the contemporary techniques. Now, this piece is a bit special in a way because we consider this piece as the professional level. Yeah, so it's actually one of the piece that I'm written for this project is completely open without biting my hands. Yeah, so I actually did have a lot of fun to explore all different possibilities and did a lot of research as what I normally do before I compose for any piece. And yeah, so I found a lot of different fun techniques. I found it very useful for describe the music that I'm writing for. Yeah, and that's the reason why I'm kind of writing this particular piece the way it is. And now the musicians, they are all pretty young in Taiwan, but they are all very skilled and very up for trying out all different type of new techniques. Now, of course, I mean some of the techniques that you see on the music itself might not be actually like old technique for the performer. In fact, it's kind of brand new. Yeah, so for instance, like let me see, I think like at some points of this I hope you still can see the screens from the share screen.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so as you can tell, all the strings instruments, they are actually performed vertically. Yeah, so it's not like the traditional way anymore. So I mean, if you actually take a look at, I'm just going to quickly show this segment so you can hear the sound.
Mm.
Yeah, so for certain type of techniques, because it's necessary, so even the weight of the performance, it's going to make it different as well. So I mean, yes, I mean right at the beginning, when I work with this group of young musicians, they were like, "Oh my God, why would we need to do this?" But then once they actually get into the modes and they understand, the purpose of actually doing the vertical versus they, doing the original ways, it make it much easier to approach the techniques and much easier to come out with the sounding that I'm looking for. Yeah, so in a way, for me, I don't actually do the extended techniques just because of fun. Not really. In fact, I do it in a way that is really necessary for the music. On top of that, I also hoping that, the weight of approaching of all these techniques is on the easy side for the performers. Yeah, not just like, oh, I'm trying to, make something difficult for them. Not true. In fact, I'm hoping that, in the process of actually doing all this work, in fact, they find out, oh, in fact, this type of technique is really not that hard to, to create, as long as, the position is correct, the weight of the performance, description is correct, and then they can very easily to approach to get the goals of the sounding. Yeah, so that's kind of my way of approach for this particular piece, and
Thank you
also
very
with the
much.
musicians as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Lee. As a performer, I appreciate a lot how you approach the extended technique so that the performers can actually make it easier to achieve the sound that you want instead of you're making it difficult for the performers. I think that's very important because we may have limited time to practice, to rehearse. So if we can make it done quickly and we can focus on the sound itself, that will be very helpful. And we do have questions from the chat box. And so let me read it up for everybody. And in the meantime, if you got questions, feel free to type at the chat box for Dr. Lee as well as for Mr. Wong. And here is the question. So thank you very much, Dr. Lee. What is the most challenging moment when you compose this piece? And how do you approach to a special extended performance technique? How do you organize this tone color in your composition? Thank you.
It's actually a very excellent questions, by the way. As I mentioned earlier, before I compose any piece, in fact, yeah, I normally actually have a very substantial research time, and that actually is a time for me to not only finding the materials for the preparation of my compositions, but also to learn all the new techniques, or like to find out, okay, I need certain type of sounds. Can I actually find some techniques, or can I create some techniques from my own to actually approach the type of sound that I'm looking for? Yeah, so those, I mean, during the research time is kind of the time that for me to kind of composite all the materials, everything I need to know. And I always joke about it. I tell my students that in a lot of cases, the research time, it's actually taking longer than the composition time. Yeah, I mean, especially for me. Yeah, and so for this case, yeah, I actually, spent more substantial time to actually gather all the informations. And as you probably can tell from my demo, I like to share some videos demos, either from the pre-existing demos, or I actually also collaborate with the performers, the live performers, to ask them to actually making some the demo videos, so it will help for all the future performances. Yeah, so that kind of help out a great deal during my preparation times. And once I have all the information in hand to compose, it's become very simple. Yeah, by the end. So the sounding, everything's the colors, it's already been printed, very well printed. It's just like building a house that we already have a blueprints. We know exactly where the house is going to be, where the restaurant is going to be. Yeah, so I mean, in the concept, yeah, I mean, it's just it's making the process much fast and easier once the preparations time period was done correctly.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. So, for sure, the composition is very creative and original, but it's also very informative. I mean, with a lot of knowledge and research behind to make it well served for the performer. And this is actually also something that Dr. Lee just mentioned. She invited the performers to do the demo video for the next performers who will keep performing your work for others to spread it out instead of just premiere it and put it in a drawer. This is something that we don't want to happen for, especially for contemporary music. Um, and this is also why we create this theme to help to feature the collaboration between the composers and the performers of our camp festival. And thank you very much, Dr. Lee, for your sharing.